This is Real Talk with Leigh Brown. I have the most high level of energy right now because I just got to interview Tara Mychelle Mary Moore, also known as Tara Mychelle. I didn't know what I was walking into with this conversation, full disclosure, because I had no idea what a home alignment consultant would be. I think I have just found one of my new favorite friends. You're going to feel the same way. So prepare to have your mind stretched and shaped a little bit, and prepare yourself for a little bit of hope in this time that needs restoration. I hope you'll enjoy the conversation, and I'll see you on the other side. Oh, I'm just so excited to have you on the show, and I guess I should have hit record, friends, because y'all missed out that Tara and I were having a conversation about makeup and beauty products because I love her lip color, just for the record, and that's what my backstage conversations look like. But Tara,
Right.
I'm so excited to have you on the show because I've never had somebody on here that's in your space in real estate. I'm so Southern that it's very foreign to me, but I did have a California client who introduced me to some of the things you're going to talk about. So
Oh, okay,
I'm
good.
here to ask questions and learn. So why don't you tell my audience who Tara Mychelle is, what do you do in the world, and give us a little bit of a background before we dig in.
So, who am I? Well, I'm a single mom. I'm a former realtor, but now I play in the real estate space a little differently. Originally from California, I've been in Texas for about 10 years. Worked in the biotech space for 14 years. So, the whole corporate world and genetics, but I just have this passion for real estate. And the other thing to know about me is I am a little California woo woo. So, I was raised in the 70s, a little hippie, and was introduced to the whole spiritual side of life and started really pursuing that in my 20s. And just so I guess you could say I've incorporated that piece of me into the real estate piece. And yeah, and so I wanted to come share some stories on your show today because there's some fun things that happen in houses.
Well, I'm super excited about that. And what I'm going to find to be hilarious is that when I asked you to introduce yourself, you went into smooth, Mychelle. You're like, well, I'm a single mom. And you go really zen. And then as you get talking more and more about your space, like your energy ramps up, which
Oh, does it? Oh, that's
hopefully,
interesting.
I just want you go back and watch this. And I bet your
Okay.
kids will. They'll be like, exactly, Mom, you are not calm, cool, zen. Because I
No.
guarantee that's not who you are. So just saying.
No, I'm very energetic and lively. I do
I
have a
love it.
Zen side though. I like to unplug and just be. I'm also a podcaster, and that's how I found you. I found
Oh,
your
for real?
show.
What's
Yes,
your
but it was
show? Give it
so
give it
my
a plug.
show, yeah, it's called Rooted in Rising, and it's all about how life is happening for us. But I thought to myself, I was like, why have I never looked into real estate shows? So then I typed in real estate and I saw crazy shit in real estate. And I was like, oh, that's my show. That's my show right
That's my
there.
people.
But I love
But I love the name of yours because Rooted and Rising, I was thinking about what my grandma always said, which was bloom where you're planted, which is exactly what Rooted and Rising sounds like to me. And I don't even know what your show's about, but I'll go
it's
look it up and
yes,
y'all
it's
all
all
should
about
too. So go
yeah,
give
it's
her some
about
love on
rooting
the
into your
internet.
truth, rooting into your truth and just being your truth. But yeah, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about fun little stories in real
No,
estate.
but if you can give me a lip color, my audience can give you a follow. This is just how things work in life. So just say.
Yes, everybody, that's Mineral Fusion Berry Glow. Sorry. Yeah, exactly.
But so, like, literally the first thing I asked was like, "Where'd that lip color come from?" I could see it's a nice berry because I'm always seeking one, especially right now when my tan starts to fade because fall is here, and
Yours and mine both. Okay, yeah.
I'm a nicer person when I'm tan, so that's why I'm meaner in the winter, y'all. Now you know the secret of life. Okay, so you went from real science, like genetics, super brainiac, nerd world stuff to real estate, which no offense, y'all, we're not exactly super nerds. We are all about relationships and leaning into people, which is not how science is built. So
Yeah.
were you finding that being in that more structured environment wasn't feeding you, like real estate was gonna
So
feed you?
the funny thing is actually real estate was before that industry, and now real
Okay.
estate's on the backside of that industry.
So you missed us.
Yeah, yeah, I did. So ever since being a little girl, I would build houses and shoe boxes, and I was always like designing and all the things. And I've just always had a passion for real estate. And eventually became a realtor back in the crash, '08 crash. So I went through losing my own property, And it was like, I want to understand this whole business and world. And the house I lost, I think that was my third house at the time. And I was really riding all that, high money that was happening and became a realtor, passionate about it. Got pregnant, married, had a baby, then decided I didn't want to be married to my phone. And through my son, landed in the whole science industry. But I've always had a science background and a science brain. And so that was always really good. And as a eventually single parent, that has really helped support us. But I miss real estate and I love real estate. And although owning and buying my own homes is great, I don't like the tests. Okay. So that's why I'm not a realtor again.
I mean, it's fair.
I hate that test. It took me so many times to do it. But I've always used my intuitive work and my intuitive skills when buying and selling properties. And so I have a dear friend who's a realtor here in Texas, very successful realtor, and she would call me up and be like, "Okay, I have this listing and I've got this buyer and this seller and da 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 da. What should I do?" And so I'd start coaching her energetically because I can see energies, I can see past, present, future of things, and I can read energies. And so I would tune into her sellers or I would tune into her buyers and I'd start, telling her things. And then it would work. And so one day she's like, "You really need to do this." And I was like, "I really should." And so that's what has me back in real estate. But the wild thing has been when I go in to clear these homes, because I call myself a home alignment consultant. There's lots of energies in homes that people aren't aware of. And I would imagine you felt the energy. You can feel when a house feels heavy, or it might feel like the energy just feels erratic. And I say erratic because you walk in and you feel like it just feels like too much and you've got to get out or you don't want to be there. And so it's interesting because I believe so it's funny. Houses to me are like what pound puppies are to some people. Like when I see a house, I feel for the house, especially if you see abandoned houses or houses that haven't been taken care of and you're
My
just
heart
like,
breaks for. I'm like, why?
"Yes,
Why did you let it go? That was
right.
somebody's dream. Yes.
Yes, yes, especially old houses." And then when I see them like they're gonna be torn down, like somebody's gotta rescue that house, you know? So I
Oh my
have
gosh,
this.
I love that you compared that to pound dogs because I don't feel
Yes,
that for dogs because I have a cat, but
yes.
right here in Concord, North Carolina, you have to look it up. There is an old campus that was the Stonewall Jackson Training School. It was a juvenile rehabilitation and detention facility. Some of the
Mhm.
most beautiful Georgian architecture from the turn of the last century. And when they shut down that facility for the most part, for all the reasons, they let the building sit there, and the architecture can never be replicated because those craftsmen are gone.
They're
And
gone.
those of us that live here for years, you drive by and you're like, and it looks so creepy and haunted. And then what did the state do? They threw up chain link and barbed wire with the big rolly barbed wire at the top around it. So they made it look even more creepy instead of investing any money and saving the buildings.
Yes.
Or at a minimum, if you're not going to fix them, tear them down because the earth is taking them back right now. But
Yes.
I drive by it and I feel this real sense of loss to
Yes.
our history, our past, good, bad,
Yes.
or different. If
Yes.
there's bad stories from the juvenile center, those are still human stories. And so if you try
Yes.
to wipe it out, they're not gone. But I love that you're talking about this space because I've said it to so many realtors. Like when you walk in a house, you feel it.
You
And you
feel
walk
it.
in like
You
old
feel
people
it.
houses and you walk in, you're like, oh, I feel the love in here because you can feel
Yes.
really positive emotions
Yes.
too, by the way,
Yes.
and in fact, I know that one of my agents, when she listens to this, she'll know exactly which house I'm talking about. We walked in, it was being used in child trafficking,
Ah,
and the neighbors had told us, like, right before we got there, people were jumping out windows and going outdoors, and they scattered into the woods, and we walked in the house, and there was this horrible sense. We just turned around and walked back out and called the police. We're like,
I got
"Something went on
chills.
over here." And
Yes.
they said, "We got nothing. There's nobody to arrest. There's nothing we can do." And we were thinking, there's gotta be something because we can feel
It's
that
the energy. It's
really horrible things
yes.
happened here. So
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that all of the audience right now is ready to tell us a story in the comments. So go right ahead because Tara will come back and read your comments. But I, I don't think we talk about this enough in real estate because we
No, and
treat it
it's
like a number. and
Yes.
maybe the scientific side where you're looking at the price and the data points and the days on market, but then we don't look at it from the humanity side, which is good things happen in houses, bad things happen in houses, but the houses themselves usually didn't cause the problem, and so what are
No.
the next steps? And so I'd love to know, first of all, how did she find out that you had this, well, you call it spirit-led, I'm gonna call it prophetic, because we just look at it from 2 different viewpoints, and that's fine too. You call it spirits, I call it Satan. But, other than that, you start thinking about the way that there is a supernatural space, there are
So
spiritual realms.
I work, it's funny because when you say Satan, I'm like, absolutely, there is that too. And yes, I only work with God. Like I call forth the God energy. Yes, because listen, I'll just go there. There's light and there's dark on this planet, period.
And we see it every day right
Every
now,
day,
it's
every
very
day,
visible.
every day. We're living in the matrix of it. Yes, every day. And so it is like continually connecting it to God. And that's why I thought was funny when I found your show, because I was like, God, bring me to the shows. And the first one that popped up, I was like, oh, that's the show. That's the show.
That's how
Crazy
he
real
rolls, he's
estate.
very good
Yeah.
like that.
But so as you're talking about, and I think about that detention center, and I can tune into it in this moment, like that building has a soul. That building was created from, yes, we built it as man, but that earth, that patch of earth and land has soul. Everything that happens inside those walls has an energetic pattern and frequency. And what happens is those patterns, we could talk about divorce, we could talk about graduations, births of babies, all of that stuff that happens in houses, all of that excitement or energetic feeling becomes a frequency and a pattern inside those homes.
Mhm.
So, like you said, you walk into some homes and you feel the love. You see all the pictures. You're like, oh my God, there's so much love here. And you walk into other homes and they like put on the like, we're happy. And you're like, no, you're not.
Liar.
Yeah. And so that's why sometimes these houses won't, when you talk about the numbers and the staging, they don't always move because there's something else going on in there. And
Agreed.
what I like to do is go in there and clean that energy up. Another thing that happens too that I find is wild, and I've been working with sellers because they get attached to their houses.
Yes,
And
big
then
time.
they're like, "Oh, yeah, we're ready to move." And it's like, you're actually not.
You're
Because
lying.
they get so attached to all the emotions and the memories and the things that
Right.
have happened. And sometimes those houses represent these beautiful monumental moments, not to mention it could be, this is the first house I ever purchased and we lived here for 55 years. And they're not ready to leave. And they say they are, but they're not. And so I like to work with them to create a whole, like, where are we going? Like, what is the story? What is the
Also,
picture?
so future casting for them.
Yes, and
I love
really
that.
getting them excited, because then what I like to do is collect all those memories into them, and now we're gonna move on and like, this house was a beautiful stepping stone for you, and now there's another house coming for you. But I also like to talk to the house and ask the house, like, who are we now bringing into the house? Because these houses, like I said, they wanna be loved. Like, this house I bought, it had been somewhat taken care of, but there was just so much character in the house, and this house waited for me. It waited for me. I really believe that certain houses will wait for people and the right buyer comes. So I'll tell you a funny story real quick. Okay, so funny story. I was a dear friend of mine is selling her property. She's got 7 acres here with a beautiful house on it. And she's like, "We've had it listed. Oh, nobody's coming." And as she's talking to me about all this, and I was like, there's an old guy living upstairs on the 2nd floor, and I had never been to her house. And I said, and he sits and he looks outside that window and he likes the house and he doesn't want you to sell it. And she's like, "You're kidding me." So and I was like, "Yeah, he's like an old codger." And it was funny as I was seeing him, he's kind of like an old Texan hillbilly guy. Okay. And he's sitting in that top room and it's his land and nobody else is allowed to come here. So then she starts telling me the stories about how her daughter would be afraid to go in that room and how her daughter would be afraid to stay home alone. And at the time, her daughter was like 11. And then I saw her and I was like, there's another guy who's living at the other corner of the property, and they're the two that fight. So I'm telling her all this stuff and I'm seeing it all and I'm feeling it. And when I go to the house, it's funny, when I got to the house, I could hear him. He said, "You're going to make me leave, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, I would like to, because you're not making this work for people. And so then a couple weeks later, I open up Facebook and there's this article about the cedar choppers. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Texas cedar choppers.
I have not, so
And
please do tell.
yeah, and that's a slang term. And apparently, just outside of Austin in West Hills, which is a very prominent place to live now, which is like, I don't know, it's like 2 miles outside of downtown Austin. That's where, back in the 1800s, that's where the cedar choppers lived. And the cedar choppers were pretty rough and rugged. They'd kill each other, but they would chop down the cedar wood, and that's how they made their business. And they would sell it to downtown. And they were quite the families, and really, I don't know how to say it. They were just really hardcore, and so I guess having arguments at the bar and chopping off a limb was like a common thing to do. Okay? So I'm reading this article and I'm like, "Oh my god." And all of a sudden he pops in my mind. And I sent her the article. I said, "You gotta read this article because this reminds me of the guy that's living in the house." And it isn't that he's in the house, he's a part of that land, because
Right.
whatever was there prior to the house, his energetic imprint is still there. And she said, "You gotta be kidding me." She's like, "You're the second person that sent me this story this week." And I was like, "He's the guy." And so but once we went into the house started getting views, and I did some work, but it's you go into these houses and you can feel things, and sometimes I can see things, but I did not ask to have the ability to speak to those on the other side. That was something I had to learn to get not afraid of, and I was really not happy with God because 'cause I'm like, I don't wanna be the sixth sense kid. I can see dead people. I didn't want that, but that was something that I could do from a very young age. So, yeah, so I have the ability to talk to ghosts in houses, and so, yeah, lots of fun things that happen when I go into these houses.
It's probably wise that you call yourself a home alignment person because otherwise that sounds even weirder. And so, do you charge for this? So how do you,
I
is it
do.
based on how many energies are in the house? Is it like square footage? How do
No.
you charge for this? Like, I'm
I know,
so
that's great.
interested in
I've
this.
been thinking, I was like, "Should I do square footage? Should I do acreage?" No, I just have a flat fee if it's just the house, or I have a flat fee if it's just the seller or the buyer, and then I have a bigger flat fee if it's all of it combined.
So you're in Texas. What
Mhm.
if somebody in upstate New York calls you and says,
Mhm.
I've got this house from 18 and 32 and nobody's buying it? Can they fly you up or can you do this by Zoom? How does your service work? I'm so
They can do
curious.
both. I'd love for them to fly me out. I'd be happy to go in. But yeah, I can do the work remotely too. It's fun. But yeah, it's so funny. I get so excited because it's these houses. They're alive. They're alive. And some energies are not energies I like messing with. Some are pretty dark. I mean, I had a realtor tell me he's got a family member who has a house with a one room that they rent out these rooms. And in this one room, uh, people keep taking their lives. And I could see what was in the house. And that's like not a house I want to mess with because it's got a big situation happening. And the person who owns the house is not addressing it. And I'm like, they need to address it because it's a big issue. And there's something.
Okay. So in that situation, do you like call the Catholic Church and get a priest to come exorcise the bad stuff in the house?
It needs to be
Obviously I'm
exercised.
not Catholic. I don't really
It it
understand
it
that stuff.
yeah, and it's not even Catholicism, it could be anybody who does that, but ready for a really wild story? This is a crazy story.
Absolutely, I am
Okay.
because I don't I'm learning from you, sister. This is so interesting to me.
It's the individual who owns the home has an energy attachment to him, and it's
So
like
so the
a
homeowner is attached to the negative energy, and that's why the negative energy is there? So if the
the
owner
yes, it's like
leaves.
a succubus, okay? We've heard of succubuses, right? And so that individual, when renting this room, that energy pulls in like-minded energy, right? And so these people have
So that's like I just shook my table because I'm just it's one of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption. You've seen Shawshank, right?
yes, great
So the
movie.
scene where sweet little the old dude leaves and he doesn't wanna leave because he hasn't spent a life out in the real world and he goes to
Yes,
his little room Banks? What's his name?
yes, yes,
And so he writes his name on the
yes,
rafter, and that's the
yes, I
same
got
room
chills.
Red goes to.
Mhm.
And so but Red has to fight off that negative I'm getting goosebumps now because I
Yes,
bet you
I had
talking
chills.
about that room. I love that movie so much, but that would actually make a spiritual connection to that somewhat dark movie, but actually quite hopeful movie because of Andy and Red looking after each other. But
Yes.
anyway, okay, so maybe that room drew in the negative energy of that
So
part of being a
the
halfway
room,
house.
what happens is when he rents it, it draws in those types of people who are already struggling. And so
Right.
then when they are in that room is intensified,
It's feeding it, yeah.
and
Mm.
so they take their lives, and it's
Awful.
crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And so I was like, you need to sell it. You need to everything in the house needs to be burned. You have to paint the room. And so, back to you talking about the Stonewall Jackson property, you would
Yeah,
go.
wait till you Google it. Your heart's gonna feel sad just looking at the
Yes.
images on the internet.
Yes, because I'll be able to tune into it and feel it. You know, when a person screams or is in fear, there's a frequency. All the abuse that went on, there's a frequency. So you have to go clean all that out. And then the house holds that. But what happens when you remove that out of a house, it's like a house can then breathe newly. And that's why it's the soul of a home. It's the soul of a home. And a home has a soul. And a home can live and breathe. And it's like we say, if the walls could talk, right? What would they tell
Right.
us? If walls could talk in these, 200-year-old buildings, what would they tell us? Oh my God, the stories would be juicy from room to room to hall to hall. And that's what's alive there. And I think we tend to forget that. We think about it as a building with numbers and a
Right.
transaction. And it's not. And then you think about who are the people that are now going to buy this home or who've been living in this home. It's like there's good stuff there. I mean, you think about your home and all the wonderful things you've created in your home. And that's our homes are homes. They're these beautiful, nurturing spaces. And I just always want to go love them all like they're that way. Like if I had all the money in the world, I would go buy up every rundown property and try and restore it and make it amazing and give it to somebody. Because it's like, look at this beautiful architecture. Look at this beautiful gazebo or the garden or the whatever, like save them all instead of trashing them down. But that's what
So
we
I'm
do.
I'm thinking about this realtor friend that I was speaking with, and I guess I was in Alachua County or Volusia County, Florida, somewhere down there, one of these old kind of cypress towns down there. And
Mhm.
she and her husband had bought this historic home that was not quite in the historic district. It was like one
Mhm.
house over, so they didn't have to go through all the rigmarole. And as she's starting to work on the house, she's finding the newspaper in the walls, and the neighbors are coming over and they're telling her about the doctor that owned it, and I'm so fascinated by the story of who built the house and what his car looked like and how he took
Right?
care of his community in the era of the doctor with a little black satchel going over to somebody's house to take care of them. And the bedrooms and the bathrooms, I don't care about any of that because the story is so intriguing. And so I'm talking to her,
Yes.
and she and her husband are that they you fall in love with the house. And so that's
Yeah.
also part of what
Yes.
that restoration looks like is that
Yes.
we in the real estate space, whether you're a practitioner or an investor or a home alignment
Consultant.
counselor,
Yep.
consultant,
Mhm.
you're gonna look at it and say, how do we restore? Because everything you're doing is
Yes.
about the restoration of the property.
Yes.
And restoration has to be, well, frankly, it's what the country needs right now. We all need some restoration to say,
Restoration.
all right, what do we have to go to as a starting point to get things better? And I think it's just so fascinating. Okay, so I have to show you. So my husband is from Western New York
Mhm.
and a town it's Jamestown, New York. And it used to be a furniture hub, but they lost all their industry. And so the town got fairly run down. And my heart just breaks because
Yes.
obviously the same reasons your heart breaks.
Yes.
Which,
Yes.
if you were with me on that trip, you would have been out walking with me, looking at all these old houses, having the same conversation that my husband didn't want to listen to anymore because he was tired of it. And so I stopped and took a picture of this
Oh,
house, and you can
yes,
kinda see
see? It's
it's
beautiful.
it's beautiful and it's
Yes.
overgrown, and I
Yes.
zoomed in, like, it's just falling apart, screen by screen and panel by panel and shingle by shingle, and it
And see,
doesn't
I
have
would
to be that way. I'm like, "How do we if
no,
we
and you
save
wanna
that, though?"
restore it. You wanna
But you
restore it. Like
yeah,
this
and you think
house.
you actually restore the community too because
Yes, and you're
one
restoring
eyesore
history.
drags everything down. Losing a
Yes.
historic home to replace it with the plastic junk we build now, you lose that the connective fiber that should draw us all together over,
Yes.
"Oh, do you remember this?" And, well,
Yes.
we're obviously of a medium age, and we remember going to the mall with our
Yes.
friends. So
Yes.
you and your 3 friends would walk around, look at him and his 3 friends, and you kinda don't walk in the same space, but we all had a
Yes.
shared collective memory, and we
Yes.
had a shared collective memory on TV because we only had 3 channels. There wasn't
Right?
a huge fragmentation. We had 1 top 100. There was the radio was all the kinds of music together, so we had shared story, shared history, and I think the
Yes.
houses are that shared story, shared history too, and sometimes the shared history is not great. So what
Mhm.
do? You talk about it, you address it so that you can bring it back.
Yes, and I love bringing back homes, you know? I bought this home. This is an '84 ranch style house that has a lot of character, and people are like, "Oh, are you gonna tear this down and change this?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna
No.
leave some of those '80s." You know, it's got these weird the little light, the light switch covers, they're like ranches and flowers and horses, and I'm like, "I'm leaving that." And some of the gold, there's lots of gold in here,
Oh,
and I'm like, "I'm
yes.
leaving that." And the paneling, it's like, I'm leaving that too. It's
Love
like you wanna
paneling.
restore so do I, the oak paneling. And I painted some of it, but you wanna restore that. And when I lived in California, I used to buy a lot of old houses, and I had a boyfriend and we were all into finding like the cheapest, dumpiest place that we could pick up and restore. But we had such beautiful neighborhoods in Los Angeles, like Angelino Heights. There's beautiful neighborhoods in downtown LA. And they had a whole historic community that would go in and just redo all these beautiful Victorians. And it's like you're saying, it's like you're salvaging these beautiful pieces of history, you know? And it was funny because when I started doing this, I was meditating and tuning in with God, and I was just like, "Why? Like, why would I do this?" And I heard because and it goes back to what you just said earlier, the country needs to be restored, and I would have an opportunity to go one house at a time and shift those frequencies to open the doors for more love because that's really what I'm committed to. It's about love. It's bringing love into the home, it's bringing love into the families, it's removing and dissolving all that junk that has really destroyed communities, cultures, families. I can't even go, that's a whole nother podcast. But yeah, but but it's about restoring that frequency of love and restoring those homes and bringing that back to people. That's just what I'm committed to, you know?
Okay, so and you're around the Austin Board of Realtors. They're
And
a very large board.
yes, they are.
How many of those realtors use you? Like, obviously, you're still in a Bible Belt area where
Mhm.
this is very unconventional, obviously. It
Yes,
would be
very,
unconventional anywhere. So
right? Wink, wink.
what you're doing is so unique. What
Yes.
what percentage of the realtor population even gives you a hearing as somebody they should listen to? Is it 1%, 10%, half? What would
That's
you
a
say?
great question. That's a great question 'cause do I first tell you how long this little thing I've been doing has started?
Oh, no, but you said you did genetics for 15 years? A member of
Mhm,
15. Is it
mhm.
50?
Well, yeah. So, I just started
I'm
doing
sorry,
this.
Tara, you've taken me in about 47 directions already, so this is completely
It's
on
gonna be
you.
it's gonna be 1% if we're lucky because
Okay.
I just opened the doors to this about 8 weeks ago.
Oh, golly, so to be fair to them, they're watching this episode for the first time thinking, "Oh,
Yeah,
snap, she's
yeah.
right here. I
But
can
it
see her at the HEB. I thought I
Yes,
recognized her face. They saw you in
yes.
the produce section."
Yes, and so, what happened was when I did it, I just thought, "I'll just do this for fun on the side," and I've done 7 houses so far, and then also worked with several sellers, and, what I'm learning, though, this is a very tough market. This is a very tough market. It's a very different market. This is not and I started seeing it and part of why I started researching, podcasts out there in real estate, 'cause I was like, I need to find out what's happening in the marketplace, like, what's going on right now, because I only see it from my perspective as a homeowner. What I started seeing and I was getting these downloads of, you have this many buyers and you have this much inventory,
Correct.
and you have people who and I'm one of them, who we got stuck in these higher interest rate loans 3 years ago, and, we were all hoping that the interest rates would come down, and they haven't. So
They're
what I
not going
started
to either.
No, I mean, they barely came down, and what I started seeing, and I was getting these downloads, I was like, oh, we're going to start seeing a boatload of foreclosures again because it's not sustainable, right? And incomes haven't gone up. I mean, you know, like that's a whole different podcast. We could look at the economy. It's crazy. And they're going to tell people everything is fine. Everything is fine. No, everything is not fine.
Well, we haven't properly educated people on how the monetary system works. And so to
Right?
be fair to the general public,
Yeah.
they see the news and they don't know how to interpret it because they
Right.
don't know that Nixon took us off the gold standard in the
Thank
70s. They
you.
don't know what fiat currency is. They don't know
Yes.
that lowering the interest rate is QE. And so if you want to start talking about the ways that our money has been stolen from us by the
Yes.
Fed and by the government, well, we can have that conversation because I'm an audit the Fed girl because it's never
Yes.
been audited. And then, just as a reminder, we're recording this, by the way, on in September of 2025. If you watch this episode later and you're like,
Yes.
these two ladies are nuts. We're not nuts.
No, we're not.
We're actually right over the target, which is why this will probably get banned from YouTube at some point. They'll start banning Fed content. We're safe on Rumble, for the record, y'all.
Thank
anyway,
you, Rumble.
Love Rumble. So you start realizing that the story is one thing, but the understanding is a different thing, which is also
100%.
houses. The house
100%.
looks like one thing on Zillow. A skilled real estate professional understands the rest of the story so that they can properly help the seller and properly convey that to the right buyer at the right time, which may be on day
100%.
1, it may be on day 90. So, I mean, frankly, everything we're talking about runs in parallel, but I will just go ahead and throw out to you one of the past presidents of the Austin Board of Realtors is Kent Redding, and Kent has been on my show a couple of times. In fact, we'll
Yes.
make sure we relink to Kent's episodes.
Yes.
Love him. He's such a
Yes.
great
I
brother.
listened to his episodes. Yep.
And you should call him because the amount of work that he does with the homeless population has a direct
Yes.
correlation with what's going on in
Yes.
the ways that we help but don't enable the behaviors that
Yes.
cause homelessness. And so
Yes.
there's got to be a more robust conversation that's more than throwing money at it. And
Exactly.
I have a feeling that there's more to your calling than looking at houses. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. And we're just going to have
Yeah.
to see what
Yeah.
happens next with you because I got a lot of friends in the Austin Board of Realtors that are going to watch this episode. So what is the best way for them to find you? Is it your website, Instagram, telephone, email?
My
You tell us 'cause
website.
we're going to drop everything in the show notes
Yes.
for this
My
episode.
website, which is souledspaces.com, and that's SOULD because it's the soul of a house, but sold equals sold. And I like to increase the soul of that house and really align the energies. But yeah, they can find me through my website. And like I said, they're my pound puppies. And I look at every one of them. I drive by and I'm like, oh, I want to go in that house. Oh, I wonder what's happening in that house. You know, it's just, and especially when you see them falling apart, I just want to fix them. I want to make them all better. Just want
And
to love on them.
and those of you out there that are right here with us and you're thinking, I want to be on the screen with those two, make that your little comment here because
Yes.
I think you do have to build a movement of restoration. And
Yes.
there already is some showing of revival in the country, but restoration has to come alongside that. And there's no reason
Yes.
it can't be with houses because that's our community. So, Tara
Yes.
Mychelle, I'm so glad
Thank
you came on my
you.
show. I feel like
Oh,
I
thank
found
you, Leigh Brown. It was so much
one of my
fun.
new favorite friends. And Kent, make sure that after you watch this, you talk to each other and then put in the comments because we create collaborations and then we create conversations and then we start seeing really great results. And I'm so excited for what you're doing as
Thank
a
you.
creative and new entrepreneurial space. And by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and lay it out there. If some of y'all out there feel like you have the same skills that Tara does, you should probably reach out to her and figure
Yeah.
out what collaboration
together.
look like. Because you never
Yeah.
know.
Never know. No.
And if we birthed it here on Real Talk with Leigh Brown, I'm just going to be like a little mama hen over here in the back.
Yes.
Look at my babies. Oh, they're doing good things.
Thank you so much. Such an honor to be talking with you. So fun. I love your show. Thank you so much for
I
having me.
appreciate you and excited to hear about your success. Now, make sure y'all give her a follow, reach out to her through the show notes, hit the bell to subscribe, and most importantly, come back and see us next time.
All right. Have a great day.
Well, friends, if that episode made you laugh, think, or shout, oh, stink, go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on that little tiny bell so you don't miss the next round of Real Talk with Leigh Brown.